Hello, welcome back to America First Texas. It is March 3rd, 2026, and it is primary election day. It's been pretty good day so far. It's feeling good. Got a couple things we'll talk about today. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about this primary election, and I'm going to give you a list of who people of candidates that President Trump is personally endorsing. We're going to talk about that list and why you should do what you should do, and get into some details. I think everybody's going to listen to this, whether you're a politician or just somebody that I know personally. You're going to want to hear what I have to say about that, because this should set us forward on a good path forward for the foreseeable future. um and yeah, we're going to talk about some influencers too. And I'm going to show you a video here in a little bit that I want you to pay attention to. So I had a conversation this weekend with one of my friends, and he asked my opinion about Iran in this situation, and I gave my honest opinion about it. And he uh didn't I don't want to say he opposed me. That's not the right way to frame it, but he had a different perspective on it, and he wasn't happy with it. And I'm like, oh no. And this is somebody who's like smart, he's awake, he can see things, and he's not stupid, and like he's on the right side, but I can tell that he's falling prey to consuming information from people that you don't need to be consuming information from. And during this time we're going through this path of awakening and finding new information and a new line of or train of thought, and I'm going to get into that kind of stuff. Um I'll give you some examples, and we'll talk about this situation. And the reason I'm bringing him up as an example is because I see a lot of you doing the same thing too. Not everybody. If you're watching this and you don't align with what I'm talking about, then I'm not talking to you. But there's enough of you that are in line with this right now, and I think you need to hear what I have to say about it. So we're going to get into that, and we'll see what else. That's all I have on my agenda. Um, yeah, I covered. I created yesterday's show to cover the majority of that portion of the show, of that subject that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, after my introduction yesterday, when I came back from my graphic intro, it was on mute, and I went off for 35 minutes, and I gave a great explanation of all of this. And I did not want to combine these two shows, but it's okay because I don't have a lot to talk about today anyway. So we're gonna go move forward with it. Welcome to the show. Let's roll that intro.
Majority vote among themselves. In a constitutional republic, the people also, by majority vote at the polls, select rulers who make laws by majority vote among themselves. But the rulers cannot make any laws they please because the Constitution severely restricts their lawmaking power. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic and transforming it into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of American principles of government. Writers of the Constitution were anxious to safeguard liberty against dictatorship, monarchy they called it. But their chief anxiety was to protect the country against democracy. Edmund Randolph, delegate to the Constitutional Convention from Virginia, said the general object of the convention was to provide a cure for the follies and fury of democracy. Elbridge Gerry and Roger Sherman, delegates from Massachusetts and Connecticut, urged the Constitutional Convention to create a system to eliminate the evils that flow from the excess of democracy. Alexander Hamilton, delegate from New York, said, "We are now forming a Republican government. Real liberty is not found in democracy. If we incline too much to democracy, we shall soon shoot into a monarchy." John Adams, one of the giants of the American Revolutionary period, said, "Democracy will envy all, contend with all, endeavor to pull down all. And when by chance it happens to get the upper hand for a short time, democracy will be revengeful, bloody, and cruel." America was founded not as a democracy, but as a constitutional republic. We pledge allegiance to the republic, for which our flag stands, not to a democracy. The Constitution requires a republican form of government for all states, but does not mention democracy, and neither does the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights.
Let me unmute that. I almost didn't do that again. So yeah. What should we get into first today? Also, since this is the beginning of this series, thanks for being patient during the intro song. I know that it's just like a single graphic, but I'm putting together a few things. There's a couple of politicians and some other political people that I've filmed that I'm not really wanting to put up, and that's kind of what I'm actually about to get into in this episode. I have trouble wanting to portray some people, and one of those people is Tucker Carlson. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Let's go ahead and move forward with this. Sorry for the distractions. So yeah, I filmed Tucker Carlson. I think it was like around 2 years ago, and this was around the time where we were going through this awakening, and President Trump was running for election, and all kinds of shit was going on. President Biden was still supposedly the president. Excuse me, but now that we know who Tucker Carlson really is, he's exposed himself now. So, that's not somebody I definitely want to put on my intro just because he's a celebrity or somebody that's technically mainstream, even though they're like old legacy mainstream. He's made this maneuver into a sphere where it seems like it's closer to us, closer to our type of being. And he's been supporting other people that are seemingly closer to us too, because we news has gone away from legacy media for the most part. Now we're basically whoever is in control of anything online is going to be delivering you news, and you're going to be taking their perspectives on it and manifesting it, I guess you could say, as your own. And this is where it's leading a whole bunch of people astray, and I understand it, I get it, and it sucks because it's infecting the minds of people who are smart, who have the good intent. Or okay, you're smart, you have good intentions, and I think that you've seen enough bullshit to know that I'm not gonna fall for anything on the left. But what you haven't gotten to yet is that I'm not gonna fall for anything on the right yet. Maybe there's a portion of you that have. A portion of you that definitely have, and then a portion of you that have not. I don't know if that's divided up in thirds. It could be. I know that I'm in the top third. I'm not falling for anything on the right either. Um, but I am not falling for anything on the right from the wrong people on the right. And that's going to be people like Tucker Carlson, and that's going to be people like Nick Fuentes. And the people that I'm bringing, and the reason I'm bringing these people up in particular are because they seem to be this like tip of the spear of information that for whatever reason people are clinging on to. Now the Tucker Carlson thing I get because, I when he first got fired after being, capped off and oppressed or whatever, um, he had my ear for a minute. And I can tell you this, when I saw him in person during his event, it was interesting that it seemed like he was going through an awakening, which we were as well. And he was speaking about that. But at this one point in the speech, and I have to go back and watch it. I recorded it, but I have to go back and watch it. But at this one point in the speech, I could tell that just a smidget of authenticity, just a smidget of it slipped. You know what I mean? Just that smidget of authenticity just slipped. Now, I have a different eye and a different ear because I have done video production and things like this for a long time. I've been on TV, I've been on MTV, I've been on the WB. So I've seen behind the scenes of how productions are made and how you make things seem real when they're scripted, even though usually when something is real and scripted, it's just keeping the trajectory of the entertainment and the show on the path it is already on, just so nothing diverts in the wrong direction, because people were smart enough to tell what's real and what's not for the most part. Um, I caught the smidge. And I wish it's been 2 years. I wish I could give you the exact example. Maybe I'll go back and watch it again. But my level of connection to him had a small disconnect. And I was like, oh, you're guiding the crowd. But he continued on, and it was still at that time, it was still the message that was a good message, and, he's revealing things that were worth listening to at that time. But as time went on, um, Tucker Carlson is I don't know how to frame this correctly, but basically he's gotten a grip on your mind and he's earned enough trust from you to where you followed him down a train of thought, down a path of thinking that you normally would not have gone down. But because certain subjects come up, uh, talking points, then, and it's during the timing is precise because of these talking points that he can guide you through these thought processes because you're already listening to him since you trust him. Prime example, I just wish I could frame this a little bit better. I mean, besides just telling you to quit listening to that guy, I think a lot of you see it now. Do you see how the trajectory of his thought processes and the way he's framing things have declined? Can you tell? Like, do you see that difference? The the Trump train, I think, in my opinion, was more of a reference of like a train of thought. Um, I don't know if a lot of people have studied psychology. When I was going to college, that was a huge subject. I was into it. Everybody wanted to figure out everybody, and everybody became a psychologist. Everybody wanted to take psychology because everybody wanted to figure everybody out because, the boomers created a whole bunch of trust issues. Most manipulative freaking generation probably to ever exist. So I think at my age, my peers, everybody was a psychology expert. I became one. I made a living off of it. I mean, I played poker for, 2 years straight, like solely. So I became a psychology expert. I could tell on the pitch of your voice if it ended high and ended, or started high, ended low, or started low and ended high. I knew the strength of your hand and I would make that call with a financial investment and take the money from you and win. So yeah, I was huge into psychology. I became one of those people too. So that's why I can talk about this stuff. The point that I'm getting at is that in psychology, you can tell that there's a train of thought, and what we were preying on were people's subconscious unknowingly. But I don't think that most people understood that your subconscious is sort of like this train of thought, and it needs to grip onto a rail so that that train has something to move on. Otherwise you just get stuck and you lose your identity. And I don't know if there's even really another way to explain that, but I know this much about psychology. That's why they call these things trains of thought. And your subconscious has to latch on to something to get your train of thought moving forward. And you can tell that it's a movement, right? So your brain, here's a reason why a two-party system is, works decently well in this country, even though everybody says that they hate it, because your train of thought can switch from one track to the other track. So you have one track of thinking and you have another track of thinking. That way, one of those tracks doesn't drive you off a cliff, and this one doesn't go off into a place it doesn't need to go off into. Right. So that's typically, you can think of about like juggling or whatever. But anyway, the subconscious needs a train of thought and a track to guide down. And that's where we've had such an issue with the Democrats for the past 15 something years. I mean, almost coming up on 20 years at this point, because that their train of thought took over everything. And if you inserted your train of thought that had any opposition to theirs whatsoever, you were cut off the internet. You were deleted off the internet. So that's how you get a communist, country. And we got there and now we're not, because they drove it off a cliff and Trump caught it right before it hit the ground. And that's why it's taking so long to build back up and make things to where they used to be, make it affordable, get the identity back, because it was beyond the free fall part. It was about to hit the ground and he caught it. And you can't just catch it, snap your fingers, and everything's back a pop up again. It doesn't work like that. You have to like rebuild it. Like when he caught it, he had to like set it on the ground. And then we have to build a new foundation and then structures and then everything else on top of that again. So we are in a new, like, I don't know if renaissance is necessarily the word. Maybe we're about to find out with AI, which I would like to get into as well. Man, do I have some opinions about that right now. Because I test the shit out of AI and it tests the shit out of me. So we'll get into that later. But let's get back to the psychology part. So people are listening to people like Tucker Carlson because he was on mainstream media and he had your ear and eye, and then he was doing things for us for a minute. But then his train of thought went to a different direction and he veered you off path, and it went into a decline. And a lot of you are falling for this stuff because you don't know how to jump off of that train. You're stuck on it because he's earned your trust, but you know that uh I didn't like what I just saw on the when we what we just passed. What part of town are you driving through right now? That's the similarity. That's the way you can look at it. And I'll give you an example here in a second. And the reason people are listening to Nick Fuentes is because Tucker Carlson pushed him, and that's like, hey, here's another little train you can go, ride and listen to. And now he's got your ear, and he's saying things that are like therapeutic to a lot of people because of the things that white people have been through, which I can't say I don't understand. Um, but it's I can't vouch for it either. So because if it was really that big of a problem, then I would be speaking about it as well. And it's just not. So, um I think that the Obama administration really screwed a lot of stuff up for this country. It ruined race relations entirely. But a lot of the public had to do with a lot of that too. They were basically just they took the country over and did everything opposite of what you wanted the country to be. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other stuff involved with that, communism. Um, and we're getting that back. And I think it's natural for any culture to want to get revenge for what has happened to them. But they're I think people lack the perception of um a spectrum. This is the best way I can put it. Think of a spectrum like this arch, right? There's going to be a spectrum where you're in the middle, or you're like bad and real far bad, or good and real far good. And you could say that either one of these are toxic. Too good is toxic, too bad is toxic. But there's this spectrum where you can just be neutral and meet in the middle. So every single culture, every single race, every single identity has a spectrum of a group of people of, are they this group of people, are they this far or are they this far, or where do they sit, and what percentage of that group is here, what percentage of that group is here. Most people don't think about those things, and they just think about the things that are happening to them by certain people. And this isn't just even race specific. Like, black people see white people a certain ways, some of them, and some black people see white people in a different way. Some white people see black people a certain way, and certain white people see black people a different way. Just giving you a black and white example because it's just the most common topic, right? And you can decide, or men and women is even a better one, because I think men and women is even better example, because it's literally 50% of the population and 50% of the population, or whatever the exact number is, but you get my point. So even take the race stuff out of it, because maybe those opinions will be too wild, but it's a good opinion because of the abuse of each side to one another or from one another. Um but what people have to understand is that everybody has to exist anyway. They're not going anywhere. So you have to learn this spectrum of people and where they are on the spectrum, and how many of them are on this spectrum versus how many of them are on that spectrum, so that you can balance these things back out and get everybody back into the middle, or to the on the good, or whatever, right? I don't want to say left or right, because like I said, too much of one thing sometimes can lead to toxicity. But right now, yeah, it all needs to shift over to the right, because the left isn't even the left anymore. We need to shift everything back over to the right so that we can neutralize things back out again. And it's supposed to be a constitutional republic anyway, not a democracy. So, I don't really see the benefit of the left at this point, to be honest with you, anymore anyway, because now we know what it is completely. But I'm starting to understand what the far right is now. And fortunately, it's just retarded, and it's not like, anything to worry about. But it would be better if we stop this train of thought now before it goes off into a deep end, which maybe it will, maybe it won't. But it's not, it's a small portion. It's at least less than one third, I can tell you that much. But it did concern me this week when my friend said what he said, because I realized, oh, your discernment's not that great. You're smart, but you're not like continually growing, and we need to continually grow. And here, I'm going to give you an example. Here's what we're going to talk about. Let's take a look at Nick Fuentes right now, because right now Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson are super anti-Jew. So is Candace Owens, but I haven't watched her at all, so I can't really give you much of an opinion on her. All I can tell you is that I'm not gonna watch her. I'm never gonna watch her, and I never really cared for her anyway. I mean, she was okay. She was helping like gender, race, relation issues for the time being, but it was a short fix, and I definitely don't not like her now. Now she's completely gone off the deep end, and this is my point. Like, you got to keep your up forward trajectory and your upward trajectory, not off to the side. You have to keep climbing higher to keep your head up, and mentally and physically. All right, so let's check this out. Here, you want to know why you should not listen to Nick Fuentes? Here's a good example. Let's get into this real quick. Where do I have this? Okay, here we go.
Thing has gone horribly wrong.
That's not it. I don't remember how I saved this. I'm so sorry. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's right. Because I changed this. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. All right, sorry about that. We're back. I changed my settings before the show because I had a bad show yesterday. So I'm like just trying to tweak a couple things. I'm doing the production by myself right now. So all right, sorry about that. Let's get into this. If you think you need to listen to Nick Fuentes, let me convince you why you shouldn't listen to Nick Fuentes. Be straight up with me. Like, is this someone's advice that you really want to take?
All of those people, with some exceptions, were never Trumpers in 2016. Shapiro didn't vote for Trump in 16. Mark Levin was critical of Trump in 2016. Where were these people when the movement was actually born, when those pillars were in place? Now all of those people are in the center. The movement is something else now. And what we need in 2028, this is our last chance. We need in 2026 for this administration to be shut the fuck down. What does this administration do other than cover up the Epstein files, embezzle money through government contracts, and bring us to war for Israel? This administration needs to be shut down immediately. Do not vote in the midterms. And if you do, vote for Democrats. Fuck this. That is what the Republicans deliver. That is what our golden age looks like. The tariffs were refunded. The deportations were stopped. They wound down and withdrew the ice from Minneapolis. What does this administration do other than embezzle money, go to war with Iran, and bury the Epstein files? Oh, and blackmail Harvard so they police anti-Semitism and ban people who criticize Israel from being in America. This administration needs to be shut down immediately. It has forfeited its mandate. They promise no new wars. They promise mass deportations in America first, and we're not getting any of it. So shut it down. In 2026, shut it down. And our only hope is that in 2028, in the Republican primary, somebody will emerge who will actually put America first. I am not voting for the vice president and the secretary of state that brought us to war in Iran. I won't do it. 2026, shut it down. You got to burn the house down with them inside, metaphorically. And in 28, you better hope that somebody has a prayer to run the Trump strategy and do another hostile takeover over the GOP. Otherwise, I'm going to become a Democrat. Like, at that point, rather than be beholden to this country, that is our last chance. 28 Republican primary, we need a Trumpian figure to relight the candle. Someone needs to take the flame and take it further than Trump. He needs to take the baton and take it further and fulfill America first. That is the only way out of this at this point. And anybody that is not on this is not serious. The only takeaway that I have from all of these events, you are not pressuring this administration. All these people told us, if Trump brings us to war in Iran, we'll just tweet about it. Yeah, well, that's not really working, is it?
Yeah. So, we were talking about being far right. That would seem like that is far right, right? But is it really though, even? Like, we can't even identify what the far right actually is. Because if you listen to that retard, he's like, I'm going to turn Democrat. So, you're not a Republican. You're a Democrat. Here's the other weird part. That guy is speaking to primarily white people. Clearly, if you listen to anything this guy says, he is literally talking to white people, acting like he is your like spokesperson for all the racial things that you've been through. And he's Mexican. So unqualified to speak for the white race, right? Do you know that guy likes gay anime porn too? He's a self-proclaimed virgin. Why are you listening to him? Does that qualify as somebody mainstream that you need to be getting your information from? He's mad at President Trump for killing the Ayatollah and the 48 other people that have already tried to kill President Trump at least twice that we know of. And America first? Hold on. America first? Is that what his hat says? How is he America first? He's America's first? He's America's worst. He's not America first. He's America's worst. And where are all the Jews? Israel controls Trump. We're controlled by the Jews. Dude, they've been saying this for like at least a year now. Where are they? Where are all the Jews? It's not like he's saying like black people hate white people and women hate men. I mean, you can at least go find some evidence of that. Some. Don't get me started on that, but I'm just making a point. Where are all the Jews that control you? I get up every day, I browse the internet, I go get coffee, do sales, I do all kinds of stuff. I'm out and about. Where are the Jews? Where are all these Jews? Why are you listening to this guy? Like, depart from that. That is so stupid. If you don't do what he says, he's going to vote Democrat. Then he's a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He's lying. He's manipulating you because Tucker Carlson put him on and made him listen to you or whoever. It doesn't matter. Like, ah. And the problem is that like I know like enough of you that listen to this guy. Some of you are close to me. And you're like, you're totally convinced by the words that are coming out of this guy's mouth, but he doesn't represent anything about you. But you think that he does because he's saying things that are like therapeutic to you because of what you've been through or whatever. I don't even want to say that. So I didn't want to even do this show yesterday, to be honest with you, but I have to just get this out of the way because I think enough of you will listen. And if it's only like some of you are important people, like you're in positions where it's important that you listen to what I have to say. So, like, I think if this message resonates with you well enough, you can influence others to not do that. And you don't need to. All you have to do at this point is literally just listen to whatever President Trump is saying. He's not misguiding you. He'll misguide the left all day long because all they do is just the opposite or whatever he does anyway. So it doesn't even matter if he lies to them or manipulates them or whatever, which I don't think he really does much of anyway, but who cares if he does? They're not about anything good or fixing anything. They're about destroying this place and making it a new country to where you're at the bottom of their totem pole. Fuck that. Who would listen? Like, who cares? Yeah, lie to them all day long. I don't give a shit. I mean, I'm a Christian. You're not supposed to lie, but I don't trust anti-Christian communists. Yeah, I'll lie to them to get them off my back. Maybe that's a lesson from the Quran we could take. Lie to the infidels. Not really. I'm just making a point, okay? Quit listening to people like Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. Literally, cut everything off and only listen to like, there's like 3 people that I can think of that you need to listen to. You need to listen to Dan Bongino, The Dilly Show, or President Trump. I can't even give you any other suggestions. I really can't. I mean, maybe there's some more out there. There's some people, but they're the only ones who don't fall off. Just stick to them. I don't want to get too much more into this. I think I've just proven it. If this didn't prove to you anything, you're already lost, but hopefully this seed is planted in your head. So if it takes you a year from now to be like, yeah, maybe I need to. Now I'm not agreeing with them. I hope you get there because this is stupid and you're going to get left behind. You can still get on the Trump train. You might be a little bit farther back on it, but as long as you're on it and it doesn't matter. You're not going to be judged. You're allowed to be wrong right now, and God's letting you be wrong and fix things because we're on a course correction, and that course correction is up. And that's what I got into on this speech yesterday. I'll get into this later because it's all like subconscious and CIA stuff. And I've done a lot of studies on this. And it's hard to put into words because there's no visual representation. But I'll get into that at a different show. I don't want to combine both of these shows today. But I wanted to get into the primary election day voting first, but I needed to make a point that you need to listen to President Trump instead of these people, which is going to lead into this next segment, which is the primary election day voting. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay. I compiled a list of people in Texas. This is more pertaining to the DFW area right now because this is where the majority of you that are listening to me are from, which is DFW. So you're going to see these people on your ballots. You're going to see this list. And when you see this list, don't turn off the show. Just listen to what I have to say. Okay, here it goes. Here's a list of people that President Trump has endorsed in the state of Texas that would be relevant to you in DFW. This is literally just a list of people that President Trump has recently personally endorsed. Now, the first name right off the bat, I know a lot of people close to me who are in political positions don't like that one. And I understand. So I can tell you the few people off the top of my head that are going to dislike this. Now, don't get mad at me, but this is an area where you need to work on the spectrum. We need to work on the spectrum because we don't want to go extreme because we need to think about the spectrum. And the spectrum that I know that you're talking about, what if I told you it's only 20%? Now, I get it. You can see it being 100%. I understand. Can't even completely argue against you because there isn't a assimilation issue going on for sure, for sure. However, I can tell you it is provable statistical fact that 20% of that spectrum is the problem. 80% is not. And that is why, in my opinion, this, if I were to guess, this is why President Trump is endorsing that first one. Okay. Okay. Now that seed is planted. I'm not trying to convince you right this second. I don't. In fact, I think your vote. It's primary day. You've probably either already voted or you early voted. I know some of you are kind of like election day purists like me. You really like to wait for election day. I do. I like election day personally, but I mean, we have a bigger population than we've ever had, and waiting in line for like what 4 something hours to vote. Where's your compromise? Where I get it. You know what I mean? Do you not get it? The early voting. Maybe it needs to be less early voting, maybe only a week. Maybe make it more urgent with less time to early vote. But some of the early voting making sense. But in a time like this, early voting gives people like Democrats momentum where they shouldn't have any. And that's where it's causing, panic and things like that. But you also have to remember this is a primary election to get your preferred candidates in to vote, and the midterms, which are having historical turnouts anyway. So that's where it's coming to like a polar decision of one or the other party wise. So more people turn out. But the smart ones that I've been talking to the majority of this show, this specific audience for you, you know how important the primary is because there's some people on this list that you don't like because you need somebody instead of I'm not pointing at this top person. I'm just showing you as an example. I can't even read that from here. You know that that person doesn't need to be right there on that list. So let's talk about this real quick. Okay. I have people that I personally want to push and endorse under America First Texas and my brand. But you know what? I can't do it because my loyalty lies with that guy. And right now, what he says goes. Now, I'm here on a state level inside the state, so I see things and hear things and know things that most people don't. And I have enough business experience to comprehend who those type of people are. And I know I don't want to do business with somebody like that because I know where that leads and the things that they do means that they'll do that to me too. So I'm not saying that I disagree with you, but what I am telling you is that right now we need to trust that guy because that guy has got a game plan that is way further down the road than you were able to predict. And once we get there, you'll be there too. So hopefully I can help you get there earlier because I'm not all the way up to where he's at, but I see where he's at. And let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. Let me give you just one simple breakdown. Okay. You know what? I'll go out on a limb here. I will take one of these candidates off this list, just one. I'm just going to take one candidate off this list because if I make this sacrifice and extend an olive branch and President Trump finds out about it because he endorsed him, I have something to back that up and why I can say what I can say because I can't endorse the other person that he's running against either. So this is like a safe zone for me. So I'm gonna pick Craig Goldman. Okay. Craig Goldman has been on the Dirty Dozen on the Texas scorecard for a while, and he was not showing up to vote for things like border security when it was most important. Um, However, he was running against somebody that I personally was, behind and found out some things, and I was like, oh shit. The guy wasn't doing anything wrong. I've got to be careful how I say this. Uh, I can tell you that the candidate wasn't doing anything wrong. Personally, no. But if you know anything about business, certain things go on when you're not around with people that you're connected to that you would have no understanding that there's an affiliation. What do you mean? That's you're partnered with them or what? No, I'm gonna let your imagination go where it goes because I'm not gonna get into this. But um, the person he's running against is not. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. I have to call you back. The person that he's running against can't win. I'm not gonna say who. You're gonna get the name wrong. No matter what you do, you're gonna get the name wrong. Um, so President Trump is pushing Craig Goldman. And I don't personally like the guy, but I can't promote the other one either. So what do you do in this situation? Do you vote for one? Yes, you do. You're not gonna like what I have to say, and that's fine. I don't expect you to take my advice right now. I expect you to take the information and think about it for a really long time and come to your own conclusion later down the road. You do vote, but here's the answer: you do vote for him. I don't like Craig Goldman. I'm going to vote for him because he said to. Now, why would I vote for somebody who wouldn't vote for border security in a time where we needed it most? I wouldn't, but he was around in a time where Democrats were in control. So he didn't vote yes or no. He just didn't show up. He voted present. In fact, he voted present. I think that's what it was. I think he voted present, not yes or no. It was something weird. He didn't participate in it. I saw one in a debate once. He had an excuse for that too. I don't remember what it was. I don't really care. He didn't vote yes or no, whatever the proposition was for. Anyway, there are some people that we need to vote for right now that we don't agree with. And it's not because they're going to keep a grip or keep control. What you don't understand that President Trump is doing right now is he's resetting your foundation. The people that you were putting into office, he's setting it up in a way to where the general public is becoming so much more involved with politics now, like it should be, that we're going to have an absolute grip on these people. So these people are endorsed because President Trump knows that they will do what you want them to do when enough of you get together and make them do it. Does that make sense? That is why some of these people that you don't like are better than the alternatives because they were a product of their environment for their situation and their time being, right? That's why you need to trust whatever President Trump is doing right now because he is doing things that you aren't perceiving yet. I hope that that makes sense. And right now, I would not imagine that I just changed your mind, but I'm not really trying to change your mind today because election's basically already over. We have 5 hours left of 4.5 hours left of voting. Well, did the polls close at 9 or 7? I don't really know about the primaries, to be honest with you. I haven't voted yet. I'm about to head out the door after this. But this is what you needed to know about the primaries, or just there's people on this list that you don't like, and I get it. But you need to think about the structure framing of the spectrum, and you need to know that more people, like the general public, is generally going to start getting involved in politics. And we're going to have a grip on these people, and they're going to do what we tell them to do, or we're going to find somebody who does. And when those new candidates spark up, they're going to know that, oh, there's accountability by my general public, but I still want to do this and I still want to be elected and I still want you to put me there so I can do it. It's going to change. This trajectory up, just started. President Trump caught it before it hit the ground. I don't know where I'm at. He caught it right before it died. He said it right here. Boom. There you go. It's on that line. And now we have to rebuild it all, make our new structures. Don't take that as symbolism or any whatever. Oh, so Illuminati. Just kidding. Anyway, we have to make a new foundation structure, which he's already setting up for you anyway. We are on a new path forward. Like this country is we're in a new era. We're in the golden era, which is why I'm wearing my gold MAGA hat probably from now on, because this is the 250th anniversary of America, and we are on a new. I don't even know if it's a new chapter, a new novel, a whole new book. I don't know what it is. It's still the same country, but it's new now, and it's totally different. And I can't believe that so many of you are still so critical of him during a time like this when so much exciting stuff is going on. The first thing that comes to my mind, the Trump accounts for brand new babies. How much is he giving you? Like $1,000 per baby to put into the stock market? And by the time they're 18, it'll be like a couple 100,000. And by the time they're like, what did it say, 28 or 30, they'll have like $1.4 million. Hello? Why are you criticizing this man? You have opinions? It's your right to be critical of him? That's just one example. Like, I understand, like, not everything's better. The job market sucks. It's still horrendous, but it's getting better slowly. Things are still unaffordable, but they're getting more affordable. This shit takes time. Think about how long it takes to get fat and put on weight. How much time does it take to take that off? Usually it takes longer than it took to put it on. But if you work hard enough and you stay disciplined and steady, it'll take you the same amount of time to take it off than it took to it'll take the same amount of time, usually, if you are consistent, to take the weight back off as it did to put it on. So you don't just snap your fingers. It takes a minute, and you have to stay persistent. You can't stay off course. You have to stay on track. You have to stay on track. Get off these other trains of thought. Get back on the Trump train and just stay on the Trump train. Nothing else. All right. Get on the America First train too, man. I'm going to come up with some nickname for this. But we're staying on track over here, and you need to stay on track too. When I see you falling off, I'm going to try to pick you up. If there's enough of you that are important enough to me to pick you back up, I'm going to do it. I don't expect to convince you today. I'll say that every day, all day. But a year from now, I hope that you remember what I said somewhere in the back of the thought of your mind, the subconscious or whatever. You remembered this, and you're going to see things in the future going forward. Be like, I know that. I know that. Oh, hey, when I did that take the image off the screen? I'm going to hit my desk more often. That was awesome, because I don't want that up there anymore. I wanted you to see this full experience. Anyway, that's really all I've got today. We're 50 minutes in. I like these hour-long episodes. I already think that's a little long. But I can tell you this. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. Maybe it's tomorrow, but I want to do another episode on this psychology and where we've been. I went off on it for like 35 minutes yesterday, and it was perfect. Okay, it wasn't perfect, but it was really good. It was really good. I gave a great visual example. But you know what? It needs to be refined a little bit anyway. So I'm glad that I had this on mute for 35 minutes talking straight into a microphone that wasn't receiving anything at all. So you didn't have to listen to me for 35 minutes, and that's totally fine. But anyway, we're going to get back to that. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. Get out there and go vote. One last thing. I haven't seen a lot of this, but this is still a thing, and some of you may or may not know this. I can think of a couple of you that are listening to me right now. You know this. I don't need to be telling you this at all. This is useless information, but it sucks. Democrats will choose not to go vote in Democrat primaries. Let's say for Jasmine Crockett or Tallarico. They won't go choose them. They'll go to our Senate race and go vote for whichever, like John Cornyn, for example, right? Let me just put that out there. Instead, they think that they understand the percentages of polling that enough of Democrats have already early voted for Tallarico, so he's going to beat Jasmine Crockett. So I know that Tallarico is going to go against John Cornyn, in my opinion, because John Cornyn's the incumbent and he's already in there, or whoever there's three senators running for the Republicans right now. And John Cornyn's the one that's been there since like early 2000s or whenever. I can't remember exactly, 2006 or something. So they know that John Cornyn is a rhino uniparty Republican Democrat, just like them. Whatever they want, he'll meet them in the middle and do it. But they're too far left, so he's down there with them. He's a Democrat, but he is a Republican rhino, Republican in name only. So he'll do whatever, but he gets along with Trump. But Trump won't endorse him. He just gets to ride on the plane with him because he's already a senator. So Democrats will literally not vote for Crockett or Tallarico because they can tell too many of us are going for Tallarico, so he's going to win. So I'm going to go vote in the Republicans and choose John Cornyn because at least I can keep a Democrat Republican in there instead of a MAGA one or the MAGA ones. That's going on, but that's why it's also not a huge problem. It's just a small percentage of it because only a fraction of the Democrats will do that. Hence why they've scoped out that the majority of the Democrats are voting for Tallarico, for example. I really don't know who's winning that race. I think Tallarico actually is. I think he's beating Jasmine. I didn't look at it today, so I don't know the numbers, but we're about to find out anyway. So yeah, that's that. I mean, I think that needs to be addressed still. I think the general public, if they knew that, it's good information for them, but they're going to freak out and not know that it's only a small percentage of them right now. But when it gets to times where there's more important races, like the Nikki Haley situation, a lot of people were voting for her so that she would be picked over somebody, whoever she was running against, but she still lost. So it doesn't really matter. But I think more of the general public needs to understand it. That way you can hold the Democrats more accountable and look down on them even more, which we need to repair them and make them like normal Democrats again. I don't know what that road looks like. I don't know when we're going to get there. But we need Democrats to be just regular ass Democrats again, not this bullshit. Like communism's not going to make it. Oh, and I didn't get into Iran. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm already done anyway. Let's get into Iran tomorrow. I'll just put it to you this way. Don't be mad that President Trump is doing what he's doing to Iran. No, the Jews are not making him do it. Israel isn't making him do it. Trump is eliminating communism on a global scale. And if you think this is an America first because he's not fixing things at home, you don't understand how all these outside influences. I guess I do need to tie this in. I'll make this real quick though. President Trump is fixing repairing all of these outside influences because they are paying people like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon, who's getting paid by fucking CCP China, to give you information and steer your thoughts. Do you know Steve Bannon was Jeffrey Epstein's basic like best friend? Are you serious? That's why he was leaking. Remember when Steve Bannon was fired because he was leaking all that? People didn't even know. He was leaking all this information. This was revealed by one of the three people earlier that I was telling you about, to only listen to these three, nobody else, because there's nobody else to listen to. He was leaking information. He was leaking it to people like Epstein. Are you serious? Look how many people still watch The War Room. I keep seeing this hair in the corner of my eye. What in the hell? I have an eyelash. I'm still mind blown by this. I went to one of that guy's events, and he was worse than Tucker Carlson. Like, I've never really listened to Steve Bannon anyway. I know that he's just been around and he existed, and he had that persona of like that warlike look, rugged and beat up. And I think that was just his image to like, like dogs like to go roll in piss and shit so that you think that they've been through the streets. It's kind of like Steve Bannon. It's kind of like one of those dirty dogs who just like rolls around and piss and shit. So he looks like he stinks and is rough and tough, but he's really just a fat drunk who I guess is best friends with the world's biggest pedophile on earth ever in recorded history. So yeah, that guy is also getting paid by China to distribute information and control podcasters and influencers that you've been listening to, that, I mean, kind of all of us have to some extent. And it's because we've been obsessed with like race relations and shit like that. And that's Obama's fault, but it's also the general public's fault for falling into that too. So what needs to happen is we all need to wash our hands of all that shit and let it go. Because it doesn't matter. You can tell it doesn't matter today. Race relations are better than they ever been. Currently, it's the only time I've even liked Black History Month was this. Well, no, I liked it in another month, one of his terms. Usually, Black History Month is just them focusing on like slavery and all the beatings and rapes of the past and all this shit. Like, man, and nobody wants. How are you supposed to celebrate a group of people when all they talk about is negative things? But that was just during those two administrations of Obama. During at least most of Trump's administration, Black History Month was at least still somewhat worth celebrating. They all hated him at that point. Not all, but I mean, a large portion hated him at right now. But honestly, this was the best Black History Month I think I've ever seen. I actually kind of liked it. That was nice. So, I mean, so many people, like Black people, are actually standing up for President Trump now. And it's a good portion. That spectrum has shifted. There's a lot of good people over there now. I like it. It's nice, finally. So, I mean, where was I even going with that? How did I get there from the CCP? I don't know. But anyway, we've been listening to Steve Bannon, or people have. I haven't. But that dude's getting paid by the CCP. And he's backstabbing President Trump. He's literally trying to take over the MAGA movement and kick Trump out of it and say that it's his. Like, who would fall for that in the first place? It was the stupidest, that's the dumbest thing on earth. But everybody's listening to it. Not everybody. I gotta quit saying everybody. That's just me being mad and all that. Whatever. Anyway, that shit's retarded. All of it's retarded. We all need to wash our hands. Oh yeah, wash our hands of all the race relations. That's why I was like, yeah, this, because it's March 3rd. Black History Month just ended, and actually a really good Black History Month. I learned there was a lot of comedy. A lot of my Black friends are posting hilarious things. They're making fun of their own history in their own certain ways, and it's hilarious. It's not like looking down on them or anything like that. This shit is funny. We do the same thing. Everybody needs to get back to that sense of humor again. You can laugh at things. It's okay. Nobody hates everybody. Everybody doesn't hate everybody. Everybody's just scared of everybody because they know they hate you and you know that they hate them. But you don't hate them and they don't hate you. And that's the part that people don't really get. You've just seen these stupid examples because our discernment's been horrible. We've been looking at everything wrong and incorrect because of trauma. Well, it's because most people have been good people. And when bad things happen to you, you start focusing on what's bad. And unfortunately, you start looking at a group like, is it you? Which one of y'all is it? Which one of y'all thinks like that too? That's where all this stems from. So we just all need to wash our hands, let it go, and everything's good. It's 2026. We're all moving forward. We're in a whole new world, whole new plan, a whole new foundation, whole new strategy, whole new everything. Everything is new. It's a whole new era. We're in the golden age, and it's for everybody. And that's the thing that I don't understand why they still hate President Trump. He's making everybody's life better. You're a Democrat. You can get a Trump account for your brand new baby if you don't abort it. You can get a brand new Trump account for a brand new baby, $1,000 investment. Who was it? The Dell company, the Dell family invest, like they put 6 billion or something like that into it. They're giving you an additional $500. So you get $1,500 instead of 1,000. You're a Democrat and you can make your babies millionaires if you want to because of President Trump. He did it for everybody. Quit being a piece of shit. Just trust the guy. He just wants to end communism. He doesn't want to end anything else. Or maybe other things, but communism's got to go. Radical Muslims got to go because they want to kill Christians, and this is a Christian nation. So as long as those two things are gone, we're basically good. But there's a bunch of good Muslims. There's like 80% are good and peaceful. But you know what? Y'all have got to start assimilating because we want to be friends with you, and you don't have to go be best friends. But y'all have got to quit just sticking together. You've got to congregate. Like I said, you don't have to go be best friends with everybody, but you've got to start assimilating and congregating Stop scamming our systems and culling your own herd like we do. Everybody is culling their own herd right now. Y'all really aren't. You need to step up and start pushing your bad people out, just like all of us do. And let's all just live normal and get along. That's the best message I can bring to you today. We're an hour in, and that's where I'm cutting it off because I could go on about this for another 2 hours, but I've got to go do sales and I've got things to do today. I've got to get America First Texas off the ground. We've got to make this country a better country and make this state remaining the best state in the country. Florida's going to catch up. Miami's looking amazing. Miami is the new LA and New York combined together with a badass beach. Man, Texas, we got to pick it up. I'm not saying our beaches are good, but we have a lot of potential here. We've got to turn things around fast, and I hope that I can help do that. So we are going to make business great again over here at America First Texas. Thank you for listening today. I hope that these seeds planted in your mind. We're going to talk about something totally different later. I'll get into more of our Iran stuff later as this goes on, because this is just the beginning of it. And if you're worried about the war, don't be worried about the war. Don't listen to what anybody else has say about it. Just listen to President Trump and what he has to say and follow along as what he's going to do. That's all you got to do. And you'll know more than everybody else. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. This is America First Texas. I'm your host, Tyler Cambry. God bless you. God bless this country. God bless President Trump. God bless Texas. We'll see you again. And I promise this intro, which is also the outro, will get better in time. Just enjoy the vibe, enjoy the music, because it's the song I like, or the city and state I love. See you tomorrow or next week.